with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Each season is different in Old World Tuscany, and you've done a good job building up your vineyard. But the days seem to pass one into the other, and they all seem the same. One day, though, you have some new visitors show up. They don't speak your language, but they're helpful, they're interesting, and they have some new things to offer to build up your vineyard. There's competition over those tasks, and often the first worker to arrive at each one has an advantage over the rest. Using these workers and visitors and new visitors, you can expand your vineyard by building structures, planting vines, and filling wine orders as you work towards your goal of owning the most successful winery in Tuscany.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is the story of, well, maybe it did sound familiar to you guys, but it didn't to me neither. But this is a story of viticulture with a little bit mixed in about the new expansion that's going to be coming to it as well. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this game and the expansion, Jamey Stegmaier himself. Is that correct, Jamey? Is that how you fall in line with viticulture and the new expansion?
That is correct, although I need to give some credit to my co-designer for the expansion too, a guy named Tito Lorenz, who came up with the initial idea for it and created the visitors for it.
Well, I bet he'll appreciate that. Thank you for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it, Jamey.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No problem. So I'm hoping that I don't geek out too much. I know I haven't played any of your games, but you'll be one of my top, most famous guests, if you will, I guess, whatnot. But yeah, so before we get into any of that, because I know you're the head of Stonemaier Games and everything, but before we get into any of that, let's rewind if we could. We don't have to go back very far, of course, unless you were born into board games. But how did you get started into playing tabletop board games, Jamey?
Well, in a way, I kind of was born into it. My parents were bringing board games to me and my siblings when we were pretty young. I think I was 7 or 8, maybe even younger when I was playing games with them. And almost as soon as I started playing games, I was designing games. I would say, though, there was definitely a shift as I got older when I was introduced to, as like many people, to Settlers of Catan and then Agricola and then Stone Age and other games like that. So it was Catan and then Agricola that really got me into Euro games as an adult.
Cool. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, a lot of people seem to bring up those two games. I kind of started a little bit later as my wife was getting into Kickstarters a couple years back, and then we played a little bit of Parade here and there, and then like Splendor as well, and then it wasn't this last Christmas, but with one prior, I watched a Rodney Smith video on how to play Blood Rage, and then me and my son, he'll be He'll be, what is he, 9? Yeah, he'll be 10 come September, but not this Christmas, but the previous Christmas season. We sat down and played that, me and him, and it kind of was like Christmas, and that's when I finally fell in love with board games, what they come to be today.
That's awesome. That's great to hear that Blood Rage was the entry, or that big entry for you into board games.
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, maybe a different take, because I'm always hearing people talk about Settlers of Catan or Ticket to Ride and the different ones like that. So maybe a little bit different take on it. So you talked about those, and then I always ask the people on the show, I can't let you pick your own games, any games you've created, because my fans might have me drug out on the street and have me hung. But besides any of your games that you've created, Jamey, what would be your current favorite game?
Yeah, so the other day I did a list of my top 10 cooperative games, and a few months ago I updated my current top 10, and they both happen to have the same game on top of the list, which is Time Stories. Have you played Time Stories, Lake?
No, it's on our shame of shelf. We have a whole bunch of games. My wife keeps on collecting them, and we've yet to get it, but I'm pretty well. we've yet to get it to the table. I mean, we have it there, I'm pretty sure. What can you tell us about it in case there's anybody else out there like me that hasn't played it yet or heard about it?
Sure. Yeah, it's a game where it's cooperative, 1 to 4 players, where you are using a time machine in a fictional version of our universe, because there are things that happen that aren't real. And you're traveling back to a certain place and trying to fix an anomaly in that place, and you do so by entering different areas. And when you do in the game, you look at this beautiful art that shows exactly what your character is seeing in that area. And then there's kind of a choose your own adventure element to it, where you're not only using the visual element, but you're also reading some text on some of these cards and deciding which paths you want to take and how you want to solve the mystery. It's a beautifully designed game, and it feels, more than any other game I've played, it feels like you are almost in a movie, but that you're interacting with the movie.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's pretty cool. They say a lot of podcasts and different things I hear about, or other designers or whatnot, I hear that is actually the competition in our field is movies and other media.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is a way. I've often, when I hear people talking about like the value of board games, I hear them saying like, I spent $50 on this board game. I could have gone to 5 movies for that amount. I don't know why we always do that, but you're right. They are. I think they both. Many board games and movies capture our imagination, so maybe there's some carryover there or some crossover.
For sure, for sure. So you like those time stories or whatnot, and you said it's on the top of your top games as well as co-op. So are you big into co-op, or do you ever play any of the take that, or the where you go up against your opponent, or mainly co-op?
Oh yeah, I love competitive games. I actually think the other 9 games on my top 10 list are competitive games. So it just happens to be that one that's cooperative.
Well, that's good to hear, because I'm one for competitive. Me and my wife like competitive games better.
Well, my favorite competitive game right now and for a while has been Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Have you played that?
No, but I've heard it talk about on quite a few podcasts, and I'm quite interested.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic game. It's one of those games that everything you do feels really rewarding. Like, it's not a punishing game at all. It just feels like you're getting more and more better stuff and better, and creating these cool combos. I absolutely love. And for anyone who doesn't know, you're basically you're buying tiles and adding them to your castle, and the tiles are all different shapes. The castle you're building ends up looking outlandish almost, and you're just trying to get the most points in the game. But it's a really well designed game that I always enjoy playing.
Cool. And you said that's your top on the competitive. Is that what you said?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool beans. That's awesome. So yeah, that's good to hear. Now, do you like any of the classic games like Monopoly and Risk or any of that?
I admire them for what they do. I can't say that I played Monopoly many years now. The most recent version of Risk that I played was Risk Legacy, and I loved Risk Legacy. But what else have I? Actually, one that comes to mind that I picked up. I was back at my parents' house a couple winters ago, 2 Christmases ago, and I saw that they still had my childhood copy of Scotland Yard, which is a game that's like 25 years old. I played it as a kid and enjoyed it, and so I brought it back, and it has now entered my top 10 games of all time because I realized just how much fun that game is. I have you played Scotland Yard? Have you heard of that game?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it, but that's good that it was able to still be on your top 10. I know a while back ago I decided when I was a kid I really loved Sorry, and I decided to pick it up for the kids and play it with them, and then I was like, wow, I really like this game. As a question, yeah, so that was pretty rough. But I'm glad that a game from way back then is still caught your eye or whatnot. That reminds me of what is it? The Fireball Island. Did you ever play that? That's on Kickstarter currently.
I did not play that as a kid, but I have played it as an adult. It's a very unique game. I know it's doing so well on Kickstarter, I think partially due to the pedigree of the newer designers, but also because of the nostalgia. Did you play that when you were younger?
No, I hadn't even heard of it. But like on one of my favorite podcasts, Tuesday Night Games with Alan Girding. I don't know if you know him or whatnot, but he talks a lot about it and always does whenever he talks about the game. It was even before I knew about the Kickstarter was coming. He'd always do the old 80s commercial over the top of his voice or whatnot. He always throws that in his podcast, and I enjoy that quite a bit.
That's awesome.
So, did they? Do you know? I know you said you didn't play it as a kid or whatnot, but do you know with the mechanics and whatnot, have they made it more to fit our games, the way games have gone today?
Yes, yeah, I think that's the whole thing that Restoration Games does. They update the graphics, but they also update the mechanisms to give players more agency. A lot of the games of the past had a lot of luck in them, and not a lot of player control. And so, yeah, I don't know a ton about it, but from what I've heard, I think it's card driven instead of dice driven. So you're making a choice based on the cards in your hand as to how you want your character to move, and you have a little bit of a choice as to how the marbles come out of the top. They like, instead of just having one path, I think there are multiple paths. And I don't know if this was in the original game, but I think this is probably the coolest part. But they have these little palm tree miniatures that are built into the board that you can turn into one or two paths to kind of block or divert the marble. So it gives you even more control over where the marble can go.
Oh wow, that sounds pretty cool. And in another podcast, they talked about you can actually somebody else who had played it says you can use actual atomic fireballs, the candy, as the fireball. It fits still or something.
Really? That's cool.
So that's pretty cool with them changing the mechanics and whatnot. Do you ever listen to the Secret Cabal podcast?
Oh yeah, I love Secret Cabal.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you have by chance catch episode 155. It was most recent or recently.
I think so. What was the topic on it?
I don't remember everything entirety, but your name did come up in what was it? I don't know if they call it Family Feud, but it's kind of like Family Feud.
Okay, so I watched. I'm looking at it now. That I listened to the review of Rising Sun, but I didn't get into the feud. How did my name come up?
Okay, well, yeah, going back with the old games or whatnot, they asked if they had to. There was a designer that Hasbro has now. I don't know exactly. This is just me paraphrasing and whatnot, but Hasbro has now decided they're going to team up with a designer of the games or some of the way tabletop has gone now, and who would be their top pick of all the Cabalists. I want to say they got 1,200 or plus answers back or whatnot, and your name ended up being the top. So I was meaning to ask you, if you were to team up with Hasbro, what would you do to fix Monopoly? I know you said you haven't picked that up for years.
Actually, I heard legitimately good things about Monopoly Gamer, the newest version of it. Have you heard of that version?
Yes, sir. We did a review, but most recently, I want to say within the last month, they did a Mario Kart rendition. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I didn't look. I didn't know if that was just like new miniatures or if it was actually a new version.
Yeah, it's a new game. They kind of changed it. Have you played either of them, or have you played the first one?
No, I haven't played either one. I'm aware of the first one and kind of some of the cool things it does, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, so we've brought it to the table. We're going to get a review up pretty soon here, but it seems like every time we go to sit down and play or whatnot, wrecking ball hits our family or whatnot, so it's kind of hard to get things to the table. I do more interviews on the podcast, but the differences were not in the first one. Every time you go around past the go, there's like a boss battle where everybody has to fight the boss or whatnot, and then for this next one, it seems to be a lot quicker from what I've noticed. For the Mario Kart one, every time you pass go, there's like a race, and so you kind of, instead of having to fight the boss battle or whatnot, everybody rolls a die, and I think whoever gets the highest number wins the race or whatnot, and you have to win so many races, or after all the races are done, then the game is over. It seems like a lot faster than Monopoly, and I like it a lot better.
Yeah, the speed, I think that's a good thing that they address the speed, because like a real game of Monopoly, when you're playing by the real rules, can last quite a while. I think the biggest thing that I would look to address is the luck. Like, I would want to give players a little bit more control over where they move rather than just leaving it up to the dice.
So kind of like what they did in Fireball Island?
Yeah, either something card-driven or maybe dice drafting, where instead of each player rolling some dice, maybe a player rolls a bunch of dice all at once, and then on your turn, you're drafting a couple of those dice, and you use those dice. That type of I like that type of randomness, where I think it's input randomness, where you input the randomness, but you get to have control over how that randomness impacts you. I like that version.
Okay, well there we go. And Jamey, we try to make a we try to make a green podcast so people can go back and listen and whatnot. So if anybody from Hasbro or that has anything to do with Monopoly is ever listening, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what Jamey would do to fix Monopoly. Unless, of course, you've stated that on other podcasts or anywhere else, had you, Jamey?
No, I don't think I've ever been asked that question. So I like that you asked it. Hasbro is a good team over there. I think I was listening to a podcast the other day that talked about how many games they print out of their own factory in Massachusetts, and it was a staggering number. Like every year, it was something like 19 million games come out of their factory every year.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Because I don't know if you do, but I know everybody else. It seems like mostly they go through China. It's cheaper to print them, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was part of the interesting part, not just the number, but that they were printing it in Massachusetts. I don't know. This is secondhand information, so I don't know exactly how true it is, but that was surprising. I definitely make my games in China.
Well, there you go. There you go. Speaking of your games, the word on the street is, according to your latest update, that there's a new expansion coming to Viticulture. What can you tell us about that, Jamey?
That's right. Yeah, it's called Visit from the Rhine Valley, and it's a set of 80 new visitor cards. Visitor cards, if you haven't played Viticulture, are these cards with unique abilities that you draw randomly, but you often end up with a hand of a lot of them. And then there are certain actions in the game where you can play a visitor card and use this powerful ability. A lot of it's about timing, like playing it at the right time so you can maximize how that ability benefits you. And this new deck of cards is built more around the idea of like building up and enhancing the wine making process rather than generating victory points, because some of the original visitor cards, or many of them, they can give you victory points by doing a certain thing. Like they might say, okay, if you have 5 workers, you get 3 victory points, which isn't necessarily tied to the winemaking process. So these cards focus more on the winemaking process instead of the victory points.
Okay, cool beans. Now we have a running joke because none of my fans have come back and told me that it's wrong. But per se, that they've fallen asleep. It wouldn't be because of you or the things we've talked about or your game especially. It'd be because of me and my podcast. At the time of this recording, we're at the middle of April, and yesterday morning, we just released our 56th episode of the year thus far.
Oh, wow.
So they get a little tired of hearing me drone on, but now they're suddenly jolted awake and they have your full attention so they don't hit the oncoming traffic. Why should they take a chance on Visit from the Rhine Valley, the expansion for Viticulture, when it comes out?
Awesome. Thanks for, yeah. Why should they take a chance on it? Well, I actually wouldn't recommend that they take a chance on it unless they already have and enjoy Viticulture. But if they already have and enjoy Viticulture, I think the visitor cards are one of the most fun parts of the game. And I think this set addresses something that some people have complained a little bit about, where the original cards can feel a little bit swingy because of those victory points. So if you ever felt that someone maybe won without staying true to the theme of Viticulture, of actually making and selling wine, these cards are definitely for you.
Okay, cool. So there you go. There you have it. And let's see here. Going along with that, I have yet to. I hate to bring this up or whatnot. Hopefully we won't have to cut the podcast short right now. But I have yet to play any of your games. I did, however, was able to through the game company that's local to us. They did provide a site that one of our fellow fans won from us. But so I've yet to play any of your games, but I have heard a lot talk about Viticulture, and I'm pretty excited I want to try to play that. However, we don't believe in alcohol and wine and whatnot in our family. For other people that might be out there like me, it's okay to play, or how exactly does somebody who hasn't played it, how does play in Viticulture go down, and then what does the expansion add? Like, how would that look? How would it sound? This is a podcast after all, Jamey.
Yeah, I've got that question from a lot of people who either don't drink or they that just isn't a part of their life for any reason. And the game is even though I think we did a pretty good job of integrating the theme into the game, you definitely do not have to be into wine or even have a positive opinion of alcohol to play the game, because at its heart, it is a game about farming. I mean, you're running a vineyard, you're turning one thing into another, and then that thing into another thing, and then you're selling that thing for money. So if you view it in a more abstract way like that, it's certainly playable. I haven't actually. It's hard for me to say because I haven't actually heard from anyone who does not drink at all and who had an unpleasant experience with viticulture because of their experience with wine, or because they don't drink. So that's kind of a long-winded answer there, but I can understand your hesitation to play it, and I respect that. But I think if you play it, it'll just feel like a farming game.
Okay, cool beans. That's awesome. So how would play of that game sound, or how would it sound? This is a podcast after all. Like, what do the turns look like, Jamey?
The turns in most of my games are very short and simple. In Viticulture, you take a worker from your supply and you place it on an action, and you immediately gain the benefit from that action. So, for example, there's an action in the summer that says, or in the summer that says, draw a vine card. So you put a worker down and you draw a vine card. And on some of those action spaces are little bonuses. So it might say, if you put the worker on that specific bonus spot, you might draw an extra vine card. And so the game is broken up into seasons where you are, in the first season, you're choosing your wake up order, which determines the player order for the rest of the season, the other seasons. In the summer, you're placing workers on specific actions that are available only in the summer. In the fall, you're drawing some cards. And then in the winter, you are again placing workers on the board and using actions associated with the winter. So in each turn, it's very simple. You're just putting a worker, you're gaining something and maybe paying something, and then it's on to the next player.
Oh, okay, great. Is there a lot of choices? Like, would I have a lot of things to choose from on what to do for my turn?
Yeah, there are. What I like to think of, I think there are like the right number of choices, because there aren't. Each season there are 6 different actions to take. And so you're kind of deciding, okay, do I want to put my workers on these actions, on one of these 6 actions, or do I want to save any of these workers to use later in the year? Because you only get to use each worker once per year. So that's one of the big things that's different about Viticulture than other worker placement games, where you're always kind of deciding, do I want to get this thing that's good for me right now, or do I need to save my workers, my resources for the winter?
So I wonder if that's going to make more people hate me, as I suffer from AP, or analysis paralysis. How is that handled in your game or whatnot, would you say, Jamey?
Viticulture is one of those games where I think it helps people quite a bit with analysis paralysis, because there are only those 6 actions. And usually with those 6 actions, there are some interesting decisions. It's not always instantly obvious which one is the best, and there may not be a best one among them. But because there's only 6 actions per season, it does limit the scope of your decision space to those 6 actions. So I've seen people who typically have AP that don't struggle as much with Viticulture.
Well, that's good to hear. So maybe they won't hate me as much. That's great. So awesome. So I have a couple of questions from some people that have followed you quite a way, recent ways and whatnot. Do you know have you heard of board game websites?
I've not, but is it a website called Board Game Websites?
Yeah, boardgamewebsites.com with Sky Carlisle.
I haven't. I know Sky's name from Facebook, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah, Sky Carlisle from Board Game Websites, and he teased because I asked him. I told him I was interviewing you and asked him if he had any questions, and he told me that he couldn't think of anything off the top of his head, and then he went on to give me quite a few questions. So I don't know, he was either kidding or did it just all suddenly come to him? But I have a couple questions from him, if you don't mind my asking them.
Sure.
Okay, so we'd already talked about the expansion. It releases when does that release? In June or July?
The Visit from the Rhine Valley?
Yes, sir.
June 1st.
June 1st. Okay, there you go. And he also said to ask him about your the new Stonemaier VIP program. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not VIP. It's Stonemaier Champion, which is basically it's people who. So I create a lot of non-board game content. I write 2 blog entries a week for what I hope is the benefit of other creators and entrepreneurs and crowdfunders, and I also film at least two game design videos every week. And so Stonemaier Champion is someone who wants to champion that content. They appreciate that content and they want to make a small contribution every year to support that content. And in return, as a gesture of my appreciation for that, we also give Stonemaier Champions free US shipping on our products and a discount on pre-order products. So it's kind of a combination of supporting the content we create and also getting some perks in return.
Oh, okay. So is it like a subscription-based thing as well, or?
Essentially, yeah. You pay $12 a year to support the content and to get those perks.
And that's free shipping in the U.S. Is that right?
Yeah, free shipping on anything you buy from our website in the U.S. and usually about a 15 to 20% discount on pre-ordered products.
Okay. Now, are there perks for people outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, for outside the U.S., originally there weren't, but I figured it out. This is still a very recent thing, but you can get. I give people outside the U.S. a discount on shipping. There's a discount code that I give them, and they also can get the pre-order discount as well.
Oh well, that sounds like quite a thing. That's pretty cool. And you just barely launched that, you said?
Yeah, we launched that. What was it? 2 months ago now. Yeah, it's been live for about 2 months.
Okay, so what kind of have you seen much success with it, or how's that going for you?
Yeah, so far we have over 400 champions. I saw that number really spike when the visit from the Rhine Valley went up for pre-order. A lot of people signed on after that point. But I usually see maybe 1 or 2 people sign up for it a day. There was a big jump whenever I sent out an e-newsletter. And then every day there's usually 1 or 2 people who sign up for it. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's going so far.
Okay, and that also benefits you for previous games. Like if we were to pick up Vitaculture or whatnot, we'd be able to get the free U.S. shipping, and then it's just the discount for the pre-orders.
Yeah, so the pre-orders would apply to new products. Like when I announced Visit from the Rhine Valley for a few weeks, people can get that at the discount. But existing products aren't at a discount, but they do get the free shipping.
Okay, so that's kind of your own thing. That's awesome. And I know a while back ago, I don't know how long ago it was or whatnot, but you started to do more off of Kickstarter than you were, because before I remember always hearing, Richard Bliss from Funding the Dream. He was always talking about you or whatnot, and I'm a big fan of that and always listen to that and whatnot. But after a while, you guys decided to branch out and do your own thing and not do Kickstarter as much. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for a while we were using Kickstarter to launch any new product, and then we were doing reprints off of Kickstarter. But we decided after Scythe. So Scythe was on Kickstarter in November of 2015. After that, we decided not to use Kickstarter anymore. So now we fund the games on our own and we put out Charterstone since then and several expansions and other products. And so we just make the game and I still try to do like all the cool things that Kickstarter enables, like building community. I try to really make it an enhanced version of the product. I try to get the word out there, try to build a lot of buzz and awareness of the game, all that stuff, but just without actually putting it on Kickstarter.
So if you don't mind me asking, what made you take the leap of not doing Kickstarter anymore? What led to that decision?
There were a few different factors. The big three were, one was time. Running a Kickstarter, planning for it, running it, executing it, fulfilling it it's essentially a full-time job if it's a big campaign. And it's just me running Stonemaier games. It's just one person. So we basically had to decide, do we want to hire someone to do this or do part of my job so I can continue to do this or stop doing it? So that was part of it. And one of the other big parts was the fulfillment process and the risk involved in it. With Scythe, we sent out, I think there were over 17,000 backers of Scythe, but there were also some pre-orders. It ended up being like over 20,000 individual order shipments for Scythe, which is just a ton of stuff to send out. And we're sending it through fulfillment centers around the world. So you have to organize all that, make sure everything's going to the right place. You're dealing with all these customer service requests from people who maybe didn't get the thing that they thought they were getting, or they were sent the wrong thing. And you're also putting these products in the hands of fulfillment centers around the world that can really screw up. Like we had a fulfillment center in France that mispackaged thousands of copies of Scythe. And fortunately, many of them, or most of them, arrived fine. But if they hadn't, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we would have just lost due to games sent to the wrong place or packaged really poorly. So part of that is just risk mitigation. Me saying it's a lot less risky for me to ship 1,000 games to a distributor than it is for me to send 1,000 games to 1,000 different people.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that's interesting. So in regards to that, what are your thoughts on the other big releases on Kickstarter? I know they had Batman, and then Cool Mini or Not keeps bringing them, the Batman, and as well as Street Fighter. What are your thoughts on the big Kickstarters that keep going on there?
I still love Kickstarter as a platform. I think it's a great place to fund something. If you want to do those things that I talked about, if you want to build community, if you want to make the product better, if you want to build awareness, if you want to raise funds, all that stuff, Kickstarter is really great at it. So I like that people are continuing to use it in creative and engaging ways. And it's it's a part of, for the Batman, that was a Kickstarter exclusive game. So like the entire thing, they were saying will only be made for Kickstarter and not after that, which I thought was interesting. It isn't a strategy that I would ever use, but hopefully it'll work for them. And Cool Mini or Not, I mean, that's a huge part of their marketing strategy and how they gauge demand for the initial print run of a game. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool platform. As long as people treat their backers well, I'm all for Kickstarter creators using the platform.
Do you think others should veer away and do kind of what you did and try to launch out on their own instead of keep using Kickstarter after they've been going at it for a while? Or what are your thoughts on that?
If they decide that that's the best way for them to serve their customers, sure. But I don't know that's the case for every company. I think companies have different needs, and their customers have different needs. So it really depends on the creator and the company and the people behind it.
Cool beans. Do you ever see Kickstarter crashing at some point?
There are a lot of games on Kickstarter these days. I definitely think it's a little bit more diluted now than it once was. But I think the good news is that there are a lot of great gamers in the community that continue to invite non-gamers into the community. You've probably introduced games to people who hadn't played games before. I think we've all done that with some people. So I think Kickstarter is a part of that process of kind of getting these games that we love in front of people who wouldn't otherwise be exposed to them. So I think it would be hard for Kickstarter to maintain the current trajectory, but I don't necessarily see it crashing unless something drastic happens. And I don't even know what that would be. So I think at this point, I don't see it crashing.
Well, there you go. So another question from another fan of ours, Jeremy. I don't even want to slaughter his last name, so I won't even try. But he asked, where your inspiration behind Charterstone? What inspired you to make Charterstone?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of different inspirations behind it. I'll mention a few of them really quickly. But some of the key ones were my love for legacy games. I mentioned Risk Legacy earlier. I love Risk Legacy. I really enjoyed Pandemic Legacy. And so I always had it in my head that I wanted to design a legacy game. And I'm more of a Euro game designer, so I wanted to add my Euro experience and preference to the legacy genre. There are also there's some fictional books that I read that influenced the theme of it. There were legacy games I played, or some games that I played that did things that I didn't really like, and I wanted to try to put my own spin on them. And then I would say the non-legacy games that inspired it were Caelus, Lords of Waterdeep, and Aura et Labora. All had a direct impact on the mechanisms of the game.
Well, there you go. Appreciate that. Jamie. Now, my next interviewer, he has a question for you too. His name's William Ritter, and he currently has a game on Kickstarter called Draft a Dragon. And he read your book or whatnot, and he wonders how you maintain the energy to be so visible and responsive online.
Well, part of it is that this is my full-time job now. I'm fortunate to be in that position. So I consider a big part of my job to be presence and customer service and communication and marketing. So I have that as an asset. For someone like your friend who might have a full-time job, that might be more difficult for him to do. But I think one way that he can do that, if he does have another full-time job, is to set aside a little chunk of time every day to offer that presence online. And I think you'll find over time, if he really engages people well, and if he taps into other people's passion and excitement for his product, that they'll often help represent the product online when he's not there. Like, I have people, when I'm sleeping, I wake up to see a dozen questions that were answered while I was sleeping, which is great. It means that I have, fewer things to do in the morning when I wake up. So I think if he's building that community, it doesn't always have to be him. It can also be other people who know the product pretty well.
Yeah, I'm always seeing that where other people, they'll ask something in one of the groups or whatnot, and other people that know and love the game will chime in and whatnot. I think that's awesome. An awesome thing in the community.
Yeah, I agree.
And he also wonders if you prioritize responding to public questions, like in a comment section, over private messages, or how do you go about your prioritization of something like that?
That's a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. I do try to clear out my inbox every day, but when someone asks a question in public, and I know this isn't always what they're thinking, but when someone asks a question in public, they are creating a generosity of information, or they're showing a generosity of information, because they're showing, I want to share this question and I want to share the answer with other people. When I get a private question, especially when someone asks me for advice privately, a small part of that is saying that they want it's just a little, I don't want to slam anybody, but it's just a little selfish, because they're saying, I want this information only for myself. And that's kind of like why I love the content creators like you, that you're creating a podcast. Like, we could be having this conversation on the phone, but instead we're having it in such a way that you're going to share it with a ton of people so they can be a part of this conversation too. So yeah, public is absolutely my preference. And I do end up prioritizing it.
I never thought of it that way. That's awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts or not, but the next section on our podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, or even a video game. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be related to tabletop board gaming or anything like that. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment, Jamie?
I do. Yeah, I have a fun one. This is an app that I use every day, and specifically every night before I fall asleep. I activate an app on my phone called Sleep Talk. Have you heard of this app?
No, I haven't. What can you tell us about it, Jamie?
So Sleep Talk, I discovered quite some time ago that I talk in my sleep. Not every night, but sometimes. And so Sleep Talk, what it does is it leaves your microphone on, and whenever it hears sound, it records it. So every morning I wake up and I check to see if I talked in my sleep the night before, which is purely just because I find it funny when I say something. But yeah, every morning I wake up and I check this app, and maybe once a week, I just, like in the middle of the night, I have a 15-second burst of gibberish or very specific language about something crazy that happened in a dream that I get to listen to. So if anyone thinks that they, or have been told that they talk in their sleep, I highly recommend the Sleep Talk app.
Have any game designs come out of that, Jamie?
No game designs, but I know that I have talked about things like dragons and farming, and just like random like game terms come up in some of the Sleep Talk. So it's clear that like my mind is still processing some of the games that I played or some of the game ideas that I've had.
I'm going to have to definitely get that app. That's awesome. That sounds awesome. When I was a telemarketer years ago, when me and my wife first got married, in the middle of the night, I tried to sell her a phone at 2 a.m. I wouldn't shut up. I wouldn't help her an answer. And then also one time he's now 15, or he'll be 16 soon. Our son came to bed with us or whatnot, and I wanted to get him off the bed because I thought he was candy fat. And then one last thing, when I was working in a radioactive pharmacy, in the middle of the night, I was trying to steal my wife's pillow away from her just because I thought there was radioactive blood on it, and I had to get it off the bed for some reason.
I think this app is built for you. Like you'll have some fun with this one.
It sounds like it. I imagine it's on iOS and Android. Is that correct?
Probably. I have the iOS version, but I'm guessing it's on Android too. And it does cost money, but the entertainment I've gotten out of like the $1 or $2 I've spent has absolutely been worth it.
For sure, for sure. So it costs. So let's see here. So do you know how much it was? You said $1 or $2 or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a long time since I bought it. I've had it for a couple of years now.
Okay. So final question in regard to this, Jamey. If you own the rights to Sleep Talk, what would be one thing you would do to make the app better or fix it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh man, because the app it does some pretty cool stuff. Most of what I wake up to is me snoring for like an hour. So it's like a lot of audio of me snoring. So if I could do anything, I would add a setting that could identify snoring and remove it, or at least and somehow discern between that and the actual talking, because it legitimately is like an hour of snoring and, if anything, 15 seconds of talking. So I have to fast forward through all the snoring to get to the talking. So that would be my improvement for the app.
Well, there you go. I think I would put something in like an AI or whatnot that would have a conversate back with you. So my wife wouldn't always have to do that, I guess.
That's great. I like that.
We've been trying to make a green podcast. So if the creators or masterminds or anybody dealing with Sleep Talk are ever listening, once again, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what Jamey Stegmaier would do to make that a better app. Now, we don't want to keep you all night. I know it's quite a different time difference with the time zone or whatnot, but mine is coming there to, I think you're in St. Louis or whatnot. Mine is coming there to stalk you in person. How would people go about finding you online or finding out what you have going on or what's coming up in the future, Jamey?
Yeah, our hub for information is stonemeiergames.com. So that'll have links to all the different things. Like it's the blog is on there. All of our products are on there. Links to our Facebook groups are on there, Instagram, YouTube. So we're connected to all these social networks, but the hub for all of it is stonemeiergames.com.
Okay, we'll make sure we leave the links in the show notes for everything. So sometimes people get a little bit lazy and they don't want to type it in, so they can just go ahead and click the link. But like I said, we don't want to keep you all night, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We can't wait to share this with more people, like you said. So it's not just a phone conversation between just me and you.
My pleasure. Yeah, I really do appreciate the invitation.
No problem. That was pretty fun, if I can say so myself. Hopefully you're still with us. I don't know if you saw the episode drop that announced our giveaway, or even if you didn't, I would go back and listen, as we are doing an epic board game giveaway here on Game Relief, and in which you, the subscribers of my email, I wanted to make sure you got the first hint to the giveaway. So you're almost there. You've almost made it. Go ahead and listen to this, and I'll give you that giveaway code, or it'll be a code word. Yeah, it'll be a code word. We'll give that to you shortly, so stay tuned.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now.
Are you still with me? I sure hope so. Anyways, I hope y'all are doing great. I hope you enjoyed this interview that I sat down with Jamey and recorded a while back ago. I know I did. And I'm ever more excited to go ahead and get his game Vitaculture and give it a try. It sounds like a great game. You know what? We as gamers, at least I do, and I know my wife does, as gamers, tend to collect or like to get games, don't we? Yes, sirree, Bob, we do. Well, did you know that you're getting this as an updated, if you're getting this first, well, either way, if you're not getting it first, you might be getting it through your email, or you might be listening to it a week later. But anyways, there is recently launched a giveaway, especially for you, the Getting Geeky with Game Relief fans giveaway. It's called Game Relief's Epic Board Game Giveaway. Yes, it is epic. because you, the fans, have an opportunity for one lucky winner to win 8 great games. Let's see here. I know Eruption and Goldmine straight away are from Stratus Games, the guy who runs the casual game Revolution. And then we've also got Triplock, which is from the brothers over that did Too Many Bones. Yeah, the people who made Too Many Bones is Triplock. That's one of them. And then we've got these other ones I'm not sure on designers or developers, but we got Ethereum. And we've got Dark Rock Adventures, Mystic Veil, Game of Crowns, and also Greedy Greedy Goblins. So, yeah, so there's 8 winners. Not 8 winners, no. One winner is going to be able to win 8 board games. It's going to be epic. Now, how we're going to do this is you all have played Wheel of Fortune, have you not? Well, maybe not. But if you were anything like me or you're older and maybe you're older because maybe you don't know what Wheel of Fortune is. Anyways, I'm about to tell you. Wheel of Fortune was something I used to watch a little bit vaguely when I was a kid. And what it is you're going ahead and they got Vanna White and the other guy and they spin the board and it comes up with the number of dollar value on, and then you go ahead and you guess a letter or whatnot, and you get the letter right, you get the word. No, you get that many dollars for each letter that has on the phrase, and so on and so forth, and you can buy vowels and stuff. But anyways, this is not just a letter, but on each of the coming podcasts, well, not each of them. We do about 3, we do more than 3 episodes a week if you've paid attention, as we go a little bit too hog wild on interviews. But anyways, so I want to say at least on 3 episodes per week. Yeah, there's going to be about 8 words or something. Let me see. I think I come up with the phrase. Well, I know I've come up with the phrase. I'm just trying to narrow it down with the guy that I'm working with Sky, who is from Everything Board Game. No, not everythingboardgames.com. That's Dane. I'm working with Sky from Board Game Websites to come up and give you an epic game giveaway. But anyway, I'm working with him, and we're trying to come up with so many words. Yeah, 8. I want to say 8 words. Let me see what my phrase is. If I got a phrase that's about 8 words, let's see here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that might be good. So yeah, I'm trying to come up with an 8-word phrase in which you will get. Let's see. I want to say you get 3. Like you get a word for every episode for 6 episodes. So yeah, you'll have to listen to the episode and you can find out the key word. And then that will give you an option. It's going to be through Gleam. You want to go ahead and sign up for my email address, and or my email mailing, and then you'll want to stay tuned to our episodes. There will be 1 word on each episode, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday most likely, that you'll get one of the words. There will also be a word on the, the website, which is gamerleafgo.com, and then also one that's on the podcast Facebook page, Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. And so there will be those words or whatnot. So that's that. And yeah, definitely pay attention to that. So you can win 8 great games. One person will win 8 great games. I hope you'll tell your friends, because even if you don't win them, maybe your friends will. And if your friends win them, maybe they already have that game and you really want it. Or maybe you game with them a lot. And this way, you're getting 8 new games to play with your friends. Yes, sir, Bob. That's for U.S. residents, just so you're aware. So we're all on the same page. And just because of shipping can be a beast from what I've heard. But I don't want to leave the other 25% of my fans, especially the 10% in the UK, out on this. I don't want to leave them out in the dark. So I'm not going to. What we're going to do for you guys is we're going to go ahead and provide 2 lucky winners from outside of the United States with a $25 Amazon gift card. Yes, sirree, Bob, you heard me right. $25 gift card from Amazon for 2 lucky winners. So you'll want to figure that out too. You don't have to buy a game. You can buy anything, but why not buy a game? Anyways, you want to go ahead and make sure you do that. And then I just wanted to touch bases with one of the games I will probably get by the time if you listen to this again on the podcast, there will be definitely a Kickstarter corner. But I just wanted to go ahead and bring light one game. I just wanted to tell you about one game in which you can go ahead and find out about on the Kickstarters that just barely launched today. Or I guess it wouldn't be today anymore. Wait, would it? Yes, it would be today still. So let me go ahead and tell you that. I gotta go ahead and find it first. But they did barely launch today, and they're having us help promote them. And I would really appreciate some love coming over from Getting Geeky with Game Relief to go ahead and show them that we are, in fact, sending some of our fans over to check out their game. So this would be a great blessing for them and for us if I can just find it on there. I don't know what happened. It's like it doesn't exist. Let's see here. Because they did just barely launch, but maybe these other ones launched before. I don't know. It's called Forgotten Fight. Or I think Forgotten Fight. Yeah, Forgotten Fight. And they have 60 days to go. But either way, they're going to bring this game to Kickstarter. They've got about $58 out of $10,000. And they're going for Canada dollars. They've recently lowered their goals and did a lot of revamping due to my suggestions on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. So it would be a great thing if you could go ahead and check out the Kickstarter page over at, Forgotten Fight. It's a cool, I don't know about deck builder, but you're like fighting each other. You get to, it's a deck building card game. You need to make a team of 3 heroes to prove you know the best combo. And yeah, it just seems like a really cool game. I had the designer on, and you'll be able to hear from him on another episode. But anyways, check that out. I'll leave the link in the show notes. And then I really hope you enjoy this exclusive content. Go ahead and let us know what you think. We'd love to get an email back from you. And plus, don't forget to go ahead and go over to our Gleam link and sign up for the giveaway that we're doing for 8 great games, as well as if you're over in the UK for the $25 gift cards going to 2 lucky fans. Yes, sorry, Bob. But anyways, it's time for you to get on with your lives, us to get on with our lives, and we'll catch you all on the flip side. You guessed it, Game Relief out. Shall we say that? Yes, Game Relief out. You're still with us? Great. Code word is, for everyone that wants to go ahead and enter Game Relief's epic board game giveaway, is, wait for it, the code word is download. That's only the first of 5 keywords that you want to look out for. So go ahead and go back to our Gleam or our link, the link that we give you in the last episode. Yeah, go back to that and enter the code word I just said. You don't remember? Well, you have a worse memory than me. But that code word was download. Thank you. Now go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in the geek fold. We'll catch y'all on the... You already heard me say it, so I'll say it again just for good time's sake. On the flip side, Game Relief out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.